Chelsea's with us. You can probably see her. Hey, Chelsea. Thanks for joining us. Do you want to just give a little introduction of who you are and maybe a little bit about your background? Tell us where you are in the world.
Sure. My name's Chelsea. I'm the senior content creator for Intrinio. I live in Largo, Florida, which is pretty great. I love it here. Our CEO, Rachel, calls me our resident word fairy, which I think is a better title than senior content creator. I was talking to her yesterday or the other day, and she was like, it's magic the way that you find words. And I was like, no, I open the thesaurus and I look up alternatives to words. And she was like, no, I don't believe that. It's magic. So that's
thesaurus, is that like a dinosaur?
Yeah. Oh, the thesaurus? Yeah. You're so clever. I don't know why you don't do our marketing.
Oh, I used to. Cool. So tell me about like how you got into writing.
So I've pretty much been writing my whole life. Like I have book reports from like 4th grade that I reread sometimes. And I'm like, this is actually pretty good. Like this, it's always been like the one thing that I was really good at. And I always loved doing. And then when I was in college, I studied journalism, but it's like very high pressure. And I just, I didn't really think it was the right career path for me. So I kind of stumbled into marketing, and I love it because, I write all the time and I get to talk to a lot of different people and learn from them and really just learned a lot of stuff like I never even knew existed, which is, I think this is such an interesting thing about writing is that you're not really like an expert in one thing. You're just learning from the experts in everything. And it's really fun. I never run out of stuff to learn, especially at Intrinio, because everything is like, it goes so much deeper than you think. And it's like, there's just so many different aspects to it and everything changes so quickly. So it's just like always interesting.
Can you send us some of those book reports?
I will tell you, I wrote this one that was like, it was the life of a coin. I think it was a school assignment that we had. And so the coin like traveled throughout history and like saw all these events and stuff. It was like the Forrest Gump, but like a quarter. Nice. And I reread it as an adult. I was like, actually, like this might be better writing than I do now.
Maybe you should go back to that. Just write a book.
I really got to re-tap into my creative roots here.
Yeah. So like our audience are probably, if they're interested in fintech, they probably work at a fintech company or they're in the industry. So can you tell them like how what's the value of writing about fintech for a business, like a fintech business? Like how does that translate into like revenue or leads, like the writing that you do?
Yeah. A lot of times we help kind of early stage companies that really are a little like overwhelmed about getting started, especially with data, which is our area of expertise. And, when you're starting a company, you just have like so many things to think about. Like you're wearing so many hats, you just have so many things to try to figure out. It can be really overwhelming. So we try to come in and break things down really easily for people. So it's like, these are the steps that you really need to get to. Like basically we want to be guiding you through, all of the process and just making it easier for you. So I try to write a lot of content that just makes things simple. Like I know personally, I don't really relate to super technical writing. Some people do, but I think a lot of people, even especially in the beginning of the process, like just want something simple. They want to look at a website and be like, what exactly do you do? Can I get what I need here? And they don't want to have to sort through like a million things and really complicated business jargon to understand. I hate business jargon. Is like my biggest pet peeve in the world.
Absolutely the worst.
So anytime you're like synergy, I'm like, I'm out. I can't read this. So yeah,
democratizing data.
Yeah. Oh God. Just anything where it's like, we're going to help you with a paradigm. Like I can't, I don't do any of that. Like I will talk to you the way I would talk to you in a normal conversation. Cause I think that's how people want to be talked to. And people just want to learn. I mean, when we have been through the startup process more or less. And, we have a lot of advice that we can give people and just a lot of like ways that we can partner with them and help them get through it and just make the whole process a lot less stressful. And then, we just are always creating new technology. And sometimes, we really have to dive into like use cases and showing people how it can benefit their business. so they can visualize it better. And it's so interesting to just like see how the same technology can help so many different types of people advance their business.
Do you think Intrinio gets a lot of like traction and leads from all this writing that you do? Like is it? I think it's key to our success, but like for other companies that don't have quite as much content created as we have made, like what would you say to them? Like, is it worth investing all that time and energy in writing all that content, or is there some other like solution to getting the word out about your business?
Yeah, well, there is a big saying, content is king, and I think that's still true. What content looks like has changed a lot. So we do so many different types of content, and the good news is that a lot of content can be repurposed. So, you know, if you're writing blogs, those can be turned into videos or vice versa. You can pull like social media posts out of that. You can put a lot of things together in different ways. And so, you know, a lot of people now are kind of gravitating towards video. They like to watch video. Some people like the written word. So you kind of want to have a lot of different types of content. But like I said, it's very easy to make different types of content on the same topic without spending like a lot of time on each one. It's very
Yep.
easy to repurpose things. But yeah, honestly, I mean, content is, you know, we've written content 6-7 years ago that still gets us leads. As long as you are keeping things updated, which is really important, you know, and just making sure that everything that's available, all the content that you have is really useful. And, you know, sometimes we have content, it's no longer useful, we get rid of it or we have to update it. But it still it still brings us in leads. I don't think any business can really survive without content marketing, but it will look different for every company. You kind of just have to try a lot of things and see what's like successful for your industry, for your business.
How often do you go through and prune all that content? Like, is that like something you spend a little bit of time every week on, or do you do it like once a
Um,
quarter?
it depends. Usually if we update a product, because our products we're constantly like making them better, adding improvements, and making changes. And so if, you know, for instance, we add a new feature to options, then I will go back through all our options content and update all that. Regularly, I do it maybe every couple months. I'll look through all our blogs, especially the ones that are a few years old. You know, you got to check for things like broken links is really important because that can really hurt your
Mm.
SEO. You want to make sure that all the products that are mentioned are still things that are available. Sometimes, like, you know, if our sales process has changed, we need to update some of that information, which has definitely been really important for us. So, like I said, I mean, whatever the content is that you have, it needs to still be relevant. Like, even if a person lands on a blog from 7 years ago, there's no reason that that blog shouldn't be updated so that they have the best information on your business. Because if they go to an old blog and they click a broken link, they're not going to think, well, this blog is 7 years old, it happens. They're going to think, this link is broken, I'm going to go somewhere else.
Right. Yep. Do you have some like content that outperforms other content, like that you could just tell is like, wow, this is a rock star piece of content that really engages with our right market?
Yeah, we definitely have a couple things that have stood out. One, I remember right off the top of my head, we have a blog that explains how we standardize our fundamentals. And it's like a pretty in-depth blog. Usually we have you know, weekly trainings at Intrinio where the experts in the different departments will dive into how the technology works, you know, what they're working on, to help the rest of the company understand. And I will always turn those into blogs and stuff, you know, so obviously without giving away our company secrets, but just helping people really understand what goes on behind the technology, because it is very complex and people often have a lot of questions about it. So yes, we had that blog about how Intrinio standardizes fundamentals. It's pretty long and it goes really in depth about our standardization process. And that has had a really high conversion rate for us. You know, people want to see what's under the hood, especially our type of customers. And, you know, it really depends on the type of customers that you have. We are business to business. So we work with developers primarily, and they, you know, they are a lot more curious. They want more in-depth content. Whereas if you're B2C, you know, they might want something a little bit simpler. So yeah, to me, it's like kind of a tiered approach. It's like you start with something very simple, like our sales materials and our kind of initial like landing pages and stuff that people see right off the gate. You know, it's not quite so in depth, but if they want to know more, then we have the option for them to go into content that explains things in greater detail. And a lot of our customers are just genuinely interested in that. They, you know, they really like to understand how things work. That is how their mind works. So, you know, that's always worked out really well for us. Videos are also really nice for us. Webinars is something that we started doing relatively recently. And people really like webinars because they can ask questions in real time. They can hear, you know, directly from the people who have built the products. And it really is just like, they feel involved in the process, and it really has helped us to generate a lot of good leads.
You mentioned the conversions on that, on some of that content. Like, how do you think about conversions? Like, what is a conversion? What does that even mean? And like, how do you get more of them?
Sure. It's so our kind of number one metric for how we track conversions is people who request a consultation. So it's a form that people can fill out that basically requests a meeting with our team. And then our team reviews those and sets up a meeting if, you know, to get to know if we can really help this business, if we have what they need. So that is our number one. We used to have a lot of different, I would say like calls to action, where it was like, you can sign up for this and you can sign up for this and you can do this and you can do that. And I think that gets really confusing very quickly if you give people too many options, they get like the decision paralysis. So it's, you know, we simplified everything about a year ago to just the request a consultation. So it's one place that people can go. It's really simple. It's really straightforward. People who are on the website always know what they're supposed to do to move forward. So that's the number one way that we track it. There are also what I guess are called like half conversions. So we'll have things like, you know, we have a sign up form on our blog where you can join our email list and get like regular emails from us. Things like that, where people are still giving us their contact information, and then we will send them, for example, our monthly newsletter, and really just keep in touch with them. And this is good for people who aren't quite ready, but you know, when they get to a point where they are ready to make a move with data, we are right there. They already know kind of what we offer. They're familiar with our products. And again, they know exactly how to reach out to us when they're ready. So conversions, I mean, getting more conversions is always, that's the whole basis of marketing, really.
Gotta convert.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
there's no, like, that's the eternal question. That's, the answer is 42. I don't know. So it's, yeah, it's something we're always working on, especially, you know, our business model has really shifted. You know, we've really focused more on giving good service to enterprise clients because that's where our products are now. And, you know, so we're still in the process of always trying to figure out how to reach out to them better. And, you know, a lot of it is just knowing what they need. That's really what content marketing is based on, is what questions do these people have? What are they asking for? What do they need to know? Sometimes they know which questions they need answered, and sometimes they don't. Like I said, you know, sometimes they don't even know where to start. So content marketing has really shifted away from just the straight sales approach to thinking more about, you know, what questions these people have, how can we be helpful, and hopefully build that trust so that when they want to buy, you know, data or whatever product it is that you're selling, they'll know this is a company that knows what they're doing. I trust them. I'm familiar with them. That's right. Kind of the, it's not a simple answer, but that's really the basis.
Yeah, your content's building a relationship with lots of people and nurturing them regardless of how engaged they are and how much they know about the business. I think that's a really interesting process. Do you find, I know a lot of people kind of regardless of what they do or what industry they're in, there's like a problem with distraction, like from Slack and messages and email and all this different stuff coming into your world. But I think it's particularly tough to write in that environment. Like, how do you focus to get all this content made?
Yeah, I think the writers and the devs on our team, we both have the same thing where it's like we have to really get in the zone, because if you get distracted, it's like impossible. I don't know. I mean, I love to write, so I can write through a lot of distractions. It's fine. Just like I can sleep through everything, I can pretty much write through everything. But yeah, for me, like I have my preset Slack statuses. I have a couple. So One of them is the little Easter Island head, and it just says like head down, and that's what I put on. Or I have a wand that says Focus Pocus, because that's our, that's our thing at Intrinio. So I'll put one of those up if it's like a time when I don't have any meetings and, I just really need to focus on something. I'll do that. I'll close Slack out because I'm one of those people who will like check Slack a lot, even when I don't need to. It's like, how you keep your hands busy.
You're like having a cigarette.
Exactly. So or like scrolling on your phone, like it's just a really hard habit to break.
Yep.
So I have to close it out completely. That really helps me. And I have to play music. Like I can't write in silence. That's crazy. That's madness. I can't edit with music on, but I have to write with music on.
Psychopath writes with no music on.
Isn't seriously, like that person is not right. That's like
Serial
someone
killers.
Who cereal or like puts the milk in the bowl and then puts the cereal in. It's not right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I have my music on, I like crank that up and, I just go into it. But really, it's like, I love doing it and it's very easy for me to get in the zone usually. Once, maybe every like couple months, I'll have writer's block and that is the worst thing. Like, no. I don't have time.
How long does that last?
Oh my God. Usually like a day. It's not that bad, but it's just hard. To lose the ability of like the one thing that you really enjoy doing and that you get paid to do.
Oh my gosh. It's terrifying. It's like kryptonite for Superman. You're suddenly helpless.
It's terrible. And there's no cure for it. You just have to like, if I get stuck on something, I just have to go do something else. That's, I think that's all you can really do is like, I just focus on another task, especially if I could do something like kind of mindless where you're just like entering data or whatever. And then you can come back to it with a fresh mind. And then usually by that time I'm fine. But, yeah, it's so easy for me to slip in the zone. And sometimes I'll just look up at the computer and be like, oh man, it's been like 4 hours.
I love it. Can you tell some advice to people that might not already have someone like you on their team? Like, how would you go about hiring someone who can build out content for their fintech business that will help them, generate leads and be successful? Like, what should they be looking for in that person?
Sure. There's so many different needs. And I think when you are starting, you really just need someone who can do everything. So like when I was hired on, we did have a director of marketing and she did a lot of the strategy, but, Intrinio really needed someone who could just like cover all the bases. So you don't necessarily want to be really specialized in the beginning. That's why my title is just content creator, because I create content for not just like the marketing and the lead generation, but I also create it for like our customer success team. I've helped with documentation. Like I've worked across basically all the content that exists in our company. So I think in the beginning, you don't necessarily want to be too specialized. As the company grows, obviously you can get people in more specialized roles. Like, now we have a campaign manager and everything. But yeah, in the beginning, you want someone who can just sort of be flexible. Also, I remember in my interview, our CEO, Rachel, asked if I wrote for fun, which I thought was a really interesting question. And I told you were there. So like I told everybody that I write for fun and I actually write like fan fiction and stuff. And I was like, I can't believe I'm admitting this during a business interview. And Rachel was like, that's awesome. I love it. So it was just, now I just admitted it to the whole world. But it was just fun. It was interesting because, she really wanted to understand, like, is writing a job or is it something that I love? And it is something that I love.
Yes.
I think that was a good answer. She wanted to see if that was something like I would devote time outside of work to doing. And so, I think that's really valuable. Just, like any job, finding passion is really important. Because writing is a hard job. There is a lot of like mental energy involved. And if you have someone who's really just passionate about it, that helps. Also, a lot of companies do writing tests, which I think is really valuable. I don't think I did one for this company. Writing samples. But always get writing samples. A lot of companies will just do brief writing tests. Maybe you'll write like a sample blog or a few sample, social posts, or you'll edit a piece of content that has errors in it. And that's just a really good way to test their practical skills. And just get to kind of know, no writer is perfect, but you can get an idea of where they're starting from. If they have any weaknesses, then you can decide, if that's something you can work with them on, or, just really get an idea of who they are as a writer. Everyone has a different style, and you want to make sure that that style fits your company and your, your messaging, or that it's a voice that could enhance your messaging, which I think is really important.
I love that because I think it applies. It's easy to understand writers. Like, do you write for fun? But the same thing's for developers and people in fintech. Like, do you write code for fun? Like, what have you done? And what have you written code for that you didn't do for work that you were just interested in? If you're in finance, like, tell me, like, are you investing? Do you follow the markets? Like, what kind of data do you like to look at when you're trying to understand things? I think if you can get people to bring that passion to work because they love what they love what they're doing, you're going to have a really successful team. It makes a lot of sense to me.
And just that willingness to learn is huge too, like that curiosity, because, like I said, no one starting out knows everything. When I came into Intrinio, I didn't have a finance background, but, if you have someone that's just willing to learn and really open to listening and learning from the people around them, that's super important. And I think that's something you can get a sense for in an interview, just like someone who's really absorbing, they're not just thinking about how they're going to answer things, but they're absorbing what everyone else is saying and really trying to like understand the vibe of the company. I think that can tell you a lot about a person.
Perfect. Well, thanks, Chelsea. That was amazing. I love to hear about writing. I'm a writer myself, and I'm super happy that you let me interview you. And now we'll go to a commercial break. Do we have any sponsors for this show yet? Probably not, huh?